The Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 114-88. Total domination there in the second half from the Oklahoma City Thunder as they outscored the Minnesota Timberwolves 70-40. And going into halftime, it didn't really seem like that was going to happen. And usually in the playoffs, and really any game in the regular season or postseason, really in any sport, when teams go into halftime, they usually can find some reason to feel good about where they're at in the game if it's close. And I think that we had that tonight. The Oklahoma City Thunder going to halftime, they're down by 4, and I'm sure that they go in there and they're like, look, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 2 of 13 from the field. Jalen Williams is 2 of 8. Chet Holmgren only scored 2 points in the first half. Like, at some point, these guys are going to get going. We forced, 11 turnovers. We scored 18 points off of them. So what we want to do defensively is working. We just need it for our 3 best offensive players to start making some shots. And that was probably the message. And they're like, all right, cool. And then over in the Timberwolves locker room, they probably said something like Anthony Edwards is only 3 of 7 from the field. He missed a decent amount of time because he sprained his ankle in that first quarter. Julius Randle really has it going. He's got 20 points. He's lighting it up from 3. Even though they turned the ball over 11 times, they had forced 9 turnovers themselves. So what they were wanting to do defensively was working, especially when you look at how much Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren all struggled. Like, they had to feel good about where they were. They're probably like, look, if we can just stop turning the ball over, then we should be fine. And for me at halftime, I felt much better about where the Thunder were than I did about where Minnesota was, just because I didn't expect for Julius Randle to continue to shoot lights out the way that he did. And the role players for Minnesota weren't very good. They looked a little overwhelmed. Jaden Daniels had 5 points at halftime. No one else or none of the other Minnesota role players had more than 3 points. When you look at their shooting, when you take out Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards in that first half, everyone else from Minnesota shot 6 of 28 from the field. And I just felt better about the idea of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren finding some offensive rhythm than I did for the Minnesota role players. Because like I said, they just looked incredibly rushed, and that's what this Oklahoma City Thunder defense does to people. They make you uncomfortable, and they make you play at a faster pace than what you want to. And what I thought was going to happen in the second half did. Don't mean to pat myself on the back there, but that's just the reality of it. Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander both really got going. They started to have Jalen Williams initiate the offense instead of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, just to kind of give him a break. They also weren't pressuring Jalen Williams with the ball the same way that they were Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That just allows you to get into your offense a little bit easier. And we saw the Thunder start to run better offense, and they started to score more. Also, I thought something else that changed was the rebounding. The Timberwolves owned the glass, especially in the first quarter, but really in the first half. Second half, that completely flipped, and the Thunder out-rebounded the Timberwolves by 6 in that second half. But third quarter, the Stars just completely flipped roles. Jalen Williams scores 9 points in the third quarter. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 12. Julius Randle didn't score in the third quarter. Anthony Edwards only scored 5 points. And on top of that, the Timberwolves role players didn't have anyone to really keep them in it. Like in that first half, even though Shai Gilgeous-Alexander struggled and Jalen Williams struggled and Chet Holmgren struggled, Isaiah Hartenstein had 10. And like, you have to have role players who can keep you in games whenever you start to struggle. The Timberwolves just pretty simply didn't have that. And as soon as Anthony Edwards stopped scoring, and as soon as Julius Randle went cold from 3, that was the end of the Minnesota Timberwolves in their offense. Julius, Randle and Anthony Edwards were the only 2 players for the Timberwolves tonight to get into double figures. No one that actually took shots for the Timberwolves actually shot the ball well. Jaden McDaniels looked good early, but he only took 5 shots on the night. He scored 7 points, but he's got to look to shoot a little bit more than that. Rudy Gobert only took 3 shots. Mike Conley was 2 of 8 from the field. Naz Reid was 1 of 11. He didn't score until the fourth quarter. Dante DiVincenzo, sure, he had 9 points, but he was 3 of 14 from the field. Nickeil Alexander was 3 of 11 from the field. All of those guys have to shoot the ball a little bit better. Also, Nickeil Alexander-Walker should never take 2 less shots than Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has to take more than 13 shots if they're going to want to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're also going to have to see the Timberwolves adjust to this Thunder defense. First and foremost, I thought that Cason, Wallace, and Alex Caruso did a great job of making life tough on Anthony Edwards. I think that's part of why he only took 13 shots was because of the defense that those guys played. But man, the Oklahoma City defense is just tough. And in the first half, I didn't think that the Timberwolves did a great job of doing what is necessary to break this defense down, and that is moving the ball quickly, quick attacks. Like if you dribble the ball 7 times in a row against Oklahoma City, you're going to get the ball stolen from you. It is going to happen. We saw it happen to Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards multiple times. They would turn their back to the defense, take 4 dribbles, and then the Thunder were running the other way. You can't do that against them. You have to make quick decisions, 3 dribbles max, and then move the basketball. That is how you break this Thunder defense down. They are too good on the ball, and they just swarm you so quickly if you dribble into any sort of trouble. It felt like every time Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards dribbled the basketball in a spot where there were 2 guys around the ball, it resulted in a Minnesota Timberwolves turnover. So they've got things to work on. I think game 2 is going to be better just because I don't expect for guys like Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo to continue to struggle to shoot the basketball. I think that they'll settle in a little bit. Also expect for Jaden McDaniels to take more than just 5 shots. So the Thunder looks really good, but the Timberwolves, they're going to have a response for what the Thunder threw at them. I think Chris Finch is an excellent head coach, and he's going to have some answers. Game 2 is Friday night. I'll be back again tomorrow night with a video after Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Pacers and the Knicks.